Time is 11:20. Today is Sunday, 23rd, I believe. Right. Hello and Allah, which is Baha'i greeting. God is glorious, evident to everyone on the planet. My name is Abdu'l-Baha. Canadians, they like to call me Tony. So, as I mentioned, I came back for a couple of reasons that I personally know. Not for sure, but I might have to continue to live. The reason I came really back, because I was going to talk about the revelation of the Bab. Some mighty convoluted topics has confused all the Baha'i scholars and non-Baha'i scholars totally. So I'm bound to speak about this and to do a few things, but other matters came in. This is why I'm just going to go some prelude to talk about ourselves. I did last night talk about metaphysics, and I explained that metaphysics is interwoven with our everyday life. We as a human being, we do plan and design things in our head, spend a lot of time on it. Based on that plan and design, we're making this telephone right here. Let me shut it down. This telephone. And I brought it up that there's a design independent from the matter that has to be available, and that can manifest itself into the matter. So essentially speaking, when we move, smallest little move, I don't know what could be the smallest move, the most primitive, most essential of all the moves, that the quark came together and they made a particle. The particles came together and they made an atom. Atoms got together to make a molecules. And molecules, they came together to create complex living beings like plants, animals, human. All of these moves, when it creates a move, when you move them, you touch the design. This is why Abdu'l-Baha says, this life, the next existence, he says, is an exact counterpart of this world. That means whatever you see here, it has a design plan behind it. When you die, you can see that. You can't see these things in a material form, but you see the design for it. And that design is not something that can live forever. No. Design, they can dissolve, they can go away, they can vanish, or they can be preserved, sometimes even forever. But matter itself, it does undergo with time, it changes and basically disintegrates. Designs are not. So this is what we spoke about last night about designers. Today we're going to talk about designer, not just a design. See, they say, I've had a comic book I like to read about Steve Jobs, how he put his life together to make this kind of phones, computer phone and all that. So that's a design by him that they made these phones, smartphones. But he himself is not a design. He's a designer. There's a difference between these two. Metaphysics, which is behind the physics, I call it design so everybody knows, or software, that emanates into hardware. It has many levels. It's not just all of them are not the same. The design behind a telephone, a smartphone, is very different from the design behind this glass. This takes, maybe a few hours, a week. That it takes years. But nevertheless, there's a relationship between this design. If you call this design metaphysics, other side, we can capture it. There's two ways you can understand the design and metaphysics here. The design and metaphysics of the things can be made directly by reading the book and all the design. Now I talk about Steve Jobs. And so therefore you know how the smartphone is made. You can read the design, how that TV is made. And then you understand it. Based on that you can actually put the matter together and make this. But you have another way. You could forget how this TV is made and you just take the TV, open it up into pieces, analyze piece by piece, and then you can capture the design. Without having the design, since this telephone design is in it, we can actually throw these pieces. In other words, if you have the matter, you can make this phone, provided you have the design previously. You can borrow the design from this phone and not reading it and copy it, and you can bring back the design. You can go further, do that to a plant. You can take the quirks from the very fundamental way and create the particles, subparticles. The subparticles, put them together, make the atoms, and go and make all the atoms that you require, put them together, make the molecules, and thereon create all the elements you need. And look at the design of a tree. God designed it. And you can absolutely, from the very fundamental elements, put it together and make the tree out of the matter. You need the matter, you have to borrow. Okay? But can you make your own design? A new plant? Questionable. I'm sure people will be able to do that. So we can capture the soul, the spirit, or the design, the software of a plant and make it. We could do that to the animals too. Can we do that to human? Can we bring all the essential elements that makes the human body? Not now, 3 million down the road. And then you exactly make a human being. Will that have a soul? Will he speaks? No. It won't. This is where we're going to the different category. We have to understand, man has many different parts. We are consist and comprised of all the matters. Every matter is a design. Those designs are putting together and make molecules to create in us a software, basically, a design that works our body like a vegetable. Mound matter on the ground will die. A plant matter on the floor, if it's out of the root, the design is cut, the plant dies. But if the design is in it, the plant doesn't die. The design of a plant makes it to survive because it collects the water, the minerals, gets the sunlight, and recycles itself, and it alives. In the case of an animal, there's another software installed on the top of that. This time, the vegetable, the animal, basically it's just like a plant, but it doesn't have a root. It walks, it looks, it listens, tastes, has the 5 senses. So when he hears the message of hunger, It doesn't have to wait for the wind or the water in the ground. Actually, it walks towards the food and gets it. Examines the things. It's a walking plant. That's what an animal is. Why? Because they have the five senses. That's us. We're that too. But we have something else. It's called human soul. Now we'll have to discuss about that. Are all our thinking, feeling, loving, is it all a design correlated directly with our body? Does body animates all of those things? Which is what we have to answer. No. Because we're talking about the design now. We're talking about the designer. We can see things in the nature, as I said, from animals to plants or everything else. We can capture those metaphysics by putting the matters together. But not a designer. We design things, this telephone, this camera. God also designs the trees. We can immediately see the designer is not in this life. I can't be. Not in here. He has relationship and communicate here, but he himself is not here. Okay? So, the designer behind the tree is not here. Neither really the designer behind the camera. Communicates here, but himself is not here. The tree is not designed by us. It's not designed by nature. It requires a design, clearly. Software is required. Because I can study exactly the design of a tree, maybe not now, in future, use that design and put the matter together and make the tree. It's possible. But I do need the design. I can't just put the things to matter hoping that it becomes the tree I want. I require the design. So, we're going to find out these fundamental questions. We know a dog, a cat, a leopard, a snake, plant, flower. These are all an emanation that directly correlates with the body. This is what Abdu'l-Baha's word comes. That life, that existence after this one is exactly the counterpart of here. That means if you see a cup of tea, there's a design behind it. That design is exactly equal in shape and everything to the cup. Because those measurements and those sizes and everything was taught by somebody who put the matter, it's like a mold into it. So they have to be exactly the same size. You know, if the cup is 3 inches by 5 inches wide, then that 3 inches and 5 inches is exactly in the mind of the designers. How do we tackle these questions? I had this discussion today with a young Baha'i, very smart one. And this question came about can we make a human being the same way that we can make a telephone? Would you speak? Would you talk? What is then soul? Is the soul not metaphysics, just like it is behind the phone? In the case of human being, is not, because human being is not just a design. He's also a designer. He's been designed by somebody bigger than himself. But that big one has made human being a design that has made him to be a designer. And designers cannot be in the world of design, simply. How would that work? Okay, the example I gave him, I think it was convincing to him. It might be convincing to you too. I said, okay, let's take a look at some of these material manifestations. Let's take a twins. You know, the twins are exactly similar. Some of them are, some of them are not. So let's get an exact twins, dead on. There are affinities in them. The way they smile, the way they snore, if they do, the way they walk. There are many affinities and similarities in it. And we note that and we write it down. They say A, B, C, D, la, 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 la. In this thing, these two are completely the same. On all the point that they are the same, it shows an parallel to the sameness of their body. It is the sameness continues into their metaphysics that we see. But then there are points that they have no similarities. One is kind, one is very cruel. One is very polite, other one is very inconsiderate. So, being polite and inconsiderate and kind and cruel, if it is coming out of the matter, there's the design that matter can relate to it directly, then these two have to show the same things. But they don't. Because the designer, unlike the design, has a choice. Mankind has choice. You can say that the spirit of man is defined by having choice. I say it's defined by being able to make decisions. Muslim philosophers, they say it's designed, the soul is defined by being able to talk. It's a talking soul. Whatever you want to attribute to define the soul, something that is not known, I mean it could be known but it's not visible, that has to be deducted between the two twins, between their similarities, between their affinities, and between their differences. The differences that they show, it could be so different. As I said, one is like Satan, and the other one is like God. It shows that there is something in this guise, in this human thing, human being, that is not have to do anything with his body. Nothing to do. So, right there it tells us that there's something else in man. In the previous videos, I brought that to idea to you that one young Baha'i, a Canadian, David Troop, 18 years old maybe, 1 week he became Baha'i, and I was hearing him talking to somebody. The guy says to him that, why do we have soul? I said, well look, the difference between us and animals. He said all the dogs and the cats, they do speak the same way. They behave the same way, generally speaking. Generally speaking. Like for example, one of them doesn't show innovation to build a house, or talks, or have a dictionary. No. Generally they speak the same way. Their differences are not big enough. It falls into the same category of the same species, let's say, variation that exists in one species. Alright? But human being, he said, is not like this. If he says that humanity is the result of the material, we should all act the same way, but we don't. We're eating food, badly hungry, completely hungry, the entire body, it says that you eat the food. Then we hear a cry of a person who needs help. It depends on who we are. We get up to go and help him and forget the eating. We actually don't listen to the body. Who says, no, you have to eat now. Tell him no. Or we give the food to him, which is again against the body. We do a lot of bad things by that tokens too. Animals, they don't smoke cigarette. They don't do things that's harmful to their body because they have a program that that design doesn't allow that anyways. Human being goes beyond that. He starts to smoke and drinks and put all kind of things in his body and abuse himself. He can. He's so careful that you don't drop a drop of water on his laptop because it might kill the laptop. And he can't see his own brain that he has. He's just like that laptop, much thousands, millions times more sensitive. But he throws the smokes and alcohol and all kind of things in it and hoping it works too. They can all do all of that. Those kind of a behavior and attitude directly is against the will and the wish of the design of the body. We actually force the body. We tell him to smoke. The body doesn't want to. Push him to do it. All of that indicates that we have something in us outside of the matter, outside of the body. Simply because we're behaving differently. We all have the same body, so we all have to, like dogs and like cats, behave the same way, but we don't. Some area we do. Because we're like dogs and cats too. We're animal too. We're vegetable too. We can't help it. We become hungry when the food is not there. We're just like vegetables. We can't help it. We look at something that we like it, whether it's a opposite sex or a food or something, we react. It's animal. But we have something else that will suppress us, the normal nature of the body into something else, positive or negative. But there is that there. So, if you make a body of a man, clone him or whatever, can you bring the soul back? No. What would he be then? A vegetable. A lot of people are vegetables. They have a body. It looks like living, but actually there's no soul in it. The soul is gone. It's not dead. It's gone. The communication with the computer is lost. Just like the umbilical cord in the body of your mother, that your body is attached to it. If it's cut, then you're a separate being, dead or alive. If it was on time, you're alive. If it's not in time, then you're dead. There's that kind of a connection that we have. So, we can't not do that. A man can be an animal. His brain could be so sick that he can't even talk. He could become a violent being and killing people and eating people. It's totally an animal. It's not necessarily a human. The software of the human is potential in him, but it's never been activated. Just like the original man, Neanderthal, go on, 6 million years, whatever. We were people there too at that time. We had the potential. But the humanity was not activated. This is why any female would have been a mate. Whether it's your mother or your sister, it would make no difference to you. Because you're acting like an animal. Animal, they don't have that power, that program in it. Mankind, as Abdu'l-Baha says, took millions of years that finally learned to be human, activated that program. And basically the religions have come to tell us to activate everything that is within us, just like one of those books that Mr. Bill Gates sends, thick book, you know, how to operate Windows. And God sends his religion how to operate one's self, so you know who you are. So, going back a little bit about this human soul on the other side and what it is, I've written here, is a different class of metaphysics. It won't just come in like this. So, and I've written for myself in my note, that when a man and woman, they copulate, they mate, they marry, they engage in sexual act, the moment the zygote is made, exactly at that moment, their soul also gets fused in a spiritual way. So you require the soul of that man and woman at that point of time to kick in, get connected to the zygote. Exactly at that time. And they have exact affinity and similarity to each other. No other soul can be attached to that zygote except that of the parents where the material came from them. The same people exerted a love, exerted a desire to have the sex done. That exertion of the desires and the love and everything else together also fused to give a soul to that person. So the soul is derived from the soul of the mother and father. And it just fits that one. I can't come to another one. It's like a clause. It fits that particular person. These are all just examples I give you. It is certain software that works for certain robots. Exactly that one. Very specific. I can't go to another one. It can also come in a different time, because the word human does not exist unless you have an egg, sperms and a spermatozoid get together, that becomes the zygote. That is when human being gets attracted. You can't have a zygote made with no soul. That's not possible. Then it's not human, it's dead. It does not able to receive a human being. It would be a crazy being. It might be a vegetable. But if it could receive it, then it would receive it. So you can't clone a man or make a man of 15 hoping another 15 years old soul comes inside him. It won't work. It has to be naturally going this way. But you could create that situation in the future to say that, okay, now we know how the nature works. It has to be my sperm and my wife's egg, but we don't want to use our body to do it. Science has gone far enough that they take my DNA, my wife's DNA, and they actually create the sperms, the egg. They refine the stuff that we don't want in it. They say, okay, there are some genes here that's responsible for diabetic. Say, out. There's a gene here that's responsible for this. Say, out. Okay. They might embed new genes in it to see better, not to catch cold. Create a superhuman being out of our genes with certain variations gradually. Okay, now they got my DNA, her DNA, and they made the egg and a sperm. Now we have it, they give it to us, and we go and buy ourselves a womb, a device, and we put those things into that device that becomes like a womb. Our baby comes out of the machine. It's our baby. It has variation in it because those variations were allowed. Every egg that I have, it could create a human being different from the other one, and it could range well beyond billions of it, even more. So I could choose one of this variation that I know is the best that I like. The similarity to the mother side or father side. All of that. But it's still a human being. It could attract the soul. At the time though, when the fusion takes place, immediately goes into. They are together. Because it's an exertion, as I said, I want to have a child. She wants to have the child with me. This togetherness, it comes in the form of a spirit and matter. As a result, you have a human being who can decide, who can think. All right. And that's essentially that, a human being. So this is the spirit of a designer. It's a little different. But the implication of this life that we're in is very, very important. Bob and Baha'i Faith says, all of them, that this life is like a matrix, Baha'u'llah says. And Bob says everything revolves around this life here. It's the essential. It's not the most important ones. I mean, all of them are important. How does that work? In here, if we want to have a human being, we need a womb. We need egg. We need a sperm. We have to take the substance that we eat. Food, meat. That becomes the basis to create the sperms and egg. Then we need the factory, the womb of the woman, or something similar to it. We need that to turn substance, non-living material, into actually a living being that can see, can hear. The same way, after we come out of the womb, we need this life, this body, in order to create a backbone life for the soul to be able to continue after here. Without this matter, soul cannot have willpower. It's very crazy, but it can't. In the beginning, it can't. This life is like a boost to it. It activates it. Why? Because body wants. Soul doesn't want. Animal wants. He wants food, he wants this, and willingness, desires kicks in instinctively. The soul chooses and says, not this food, not that food, not here, not there. That gradually gives the soul power of willpower, without which he cannot survive after here. The first elemental feature of a living soul is that he or she can ask for something. He or she wants something. If he doesn't want, he's dead. But this wanting and this desire, which gradually kicks our willpower, if it becomes contained in here only, in this material desires, it will not be useful for the soul on the other side. Soul on the other side wants kindness, forgiving, consideration, intelligence, to deal with the subject of a human being, for example. Not the intelligence just deals with the material, spiritual intelligence, in other words. Doesn't have it, it can't live there. So he needs it. I've given you an example before to you. Just a matter of example, okay? This guy's in China, in some remote Chinese place. And he's learning English and learning carpentry. People are telling him, are you crazy? Nobody speaks English. We don't understand what you say. You read these strange books and you talk to yourself. He tells them that, I need it. You don't know that now. And what is this you're playing with wood? We don't use wood here to make houses, per se. It's a figure of speech. So why do you know that? You use cement, you use a stone to build houses, you use wood. He says, well, I need it. People totally call him a crazy man because he just is irrelevant to his circumstances, his surrounding. But he ends up coming to Canada. All of a sudden, my God, speaking English made sense now. And then their friends, they look at him and say, oh God, he was smart learning English. Now those people can't speak. Guess what happens? He makes the money and the life and they don't. And now he's a carpenter, he can make houses with wood. Wow, again he's ahead. Because in China, if he was willing, he puts his willpower and intelligence and desires only on what was in China, he would not have a successful life in Canada. But he knew where he was going, so he prepared himself for that. Basically, take this life as China and the one we're going as Canada. No doubt, both need intelligence. It needs intelligence to buy real estate and make rich and become money makers. But also needs, same intelligence to be spent on reading the book of Baha'u'llah, your software that has made you, and to see what it is and try to operate and communicate with people and make them happy. And gradually yourself become happy. Well, as soon as you die, you can communicate with all the souls. You're actually human. May not be very rich, but you're alive. Abdu'l-Baha, one day they asked him, what's this situation of the people in the next life? He says, to begin with, the same level of life that you have here is back there too. Which means we have here what? Minerals, we have vegetables, we have animals, and we have human. He says the same thing is back there. Out of the souls, in the world of the souls, okay, in the world of the designers and not the designs, out of the designers, which are the human being, in the next level of life, some of them he looked at the hay, hay stack in the stable, a hay. He said, wicked people, cruel people, are just like hay compared to this believer standing here. That much of a difference. So it means there are people back there that they're like minerals. There's some like vegetables. There's some like animals. Depending on how much their willpower operates there. But Abdu'l-Baha says even there's 5 senses that we have here, 5 is there too. We have to first will something that we wanted. Then he says you have to imagine how to get it. Then finally you come to a conclusion by thinking that this is how to get it. And then you actually go and get it. Then it becomes wisdom. And then it becomes part of your spiritual memory. When you die, you don't remember the pictures because you have no brain. There's no color. But the guy was kind and it wasn't. You remember those things. As you know, here it lasts long. If somebody had been bad to you or extremely good to you, almost all your life you never forget it. But you might get old and gradually lose your brain, cells. You don't remember his face. But the kindness, you always remember it. Or hurt. Remember that too? So, this is why we need this life. What's our business here? Is basically to turn matter into the spiritual goods. It's totally business. Quran refers to it as a business. He says, Tijaratan lan tabur. Tijarat is a business, lan tabur. Doesn't bring any benefits. He says to the infidels, you're into business of acquiring things, but it has no benefit to you. So, because they were doing supposedly good things, but he said that, yeah, you're doing it, but out of your action, nothing comes out. So we go to work, which is physical, we get the money, that's physical, and then we go and give it to somebody. Because he needs it. If it's a rightful giving, we feel generous. If it is not, and he tells us, oh, you saved my life, I'm so owing my life to you. If we like that, we fed our ego right here. Well, like that, thank you. Okay, that's what your need. That's what your recompense. That's your wage. But if you do it, and he even doesn't know you helped him, absolutely not. At that point, you're saying to God, I don't need any wage here for it. I need it from you, not from people. This is what Jesus says in the Bible. Don't let the right hand know what the left hand does. It's so sacred. No one should know about it if you want to get maximum benefit. So, and what of our business is to give. And you say, oh, I wish I had money to give. Actually, giving material has very least of the profit spiritually. We can give the money to this guy, he saves his life and everything else. He might become a killer and kill other people. It's all your business. You did it and now he's going to get it. You saved the life of people in Africa and many places. Bill Gates does every day. The people who are supposed to die, they are alive. And they come back, they all become great dictators and they will kill other people. Because there's no planning in this giving. Bill Gates thinks that just like a farmer, just throw the seed. Don't matter where. Well, in many places it doesn't grow. Some places it grows in the wrong places. No. This is a business. You have to know where you're giving, why you're giving, what is the benefit, and all that. So the best giving really is that when you educate the guy, don't give him the money. Teach him how to make money. You know? No, it's not just the money. You taught him the actual way of making it. As an example. But even teaching him how to make money doesn't help. You teach him other things. Kindness. You affect him with your soul. Then you might have turned a Hitler into a great man by your kindness. An otherwise bad man turned into a good man. Now, just like these singers, you made a DVD or a video, just keep selling and a commission goes into your pocket, even after you died. You taught this fellow Baha'i faith, he was to be doomed, but because he became Baha'i, he married good, he created a life, and after that thousands and millions of people came in because of your initial work. All of that is commissioned to your pocket. And vice versa. If you were giving him wrong, not using God's way, he can become a Saddam Hussein and go kill millions. All of it is commissioned, your commission. You're a part of that investment. Yup. But since it is the business of turning matter into a soul, I call it royal bank and the loyal bank. Give the dollar to take a spiritual dollar. And the sign of being in a heaven is something that you know right now. It's cash in, you feel good. And it's not just for a moment. You also feel rich. Feel very, don't feel poor at all. You know yourself. You're alive. Totally, when you die. So how do we do this? Yeah, I can work and give money, I can serve people, I can teach them. What other things that I could do to become generous, to be kind, to be powerful? All of those attributes I needed in order not only to survive, but also to be rich. Okay, one of them is like Mother Teresa. I'm gonna go and not even marry, I put all my life behind me, and I'm just gonna go all the way to India, and I'm gonna go live with the lepers, with the poor people, screw my life materially, because I know there's such a big reward on it. Too bad she's getting nothing. Zero, zilch. just like our Bill Gates. Because it was a huge investment in a wrong enterprise. You're teaching Christianity to people after Islam has come already. Now there's Baha'i faith is here, and you're not aware of it. It's like you're going to talk to the people of the world about America and its great president Abraham Lincoln and what he does, and people say, hey, where are you, lady? A couple hundred years passed. You're not in time. And I'm going to teach the teaching of my teacher. Yeah, he said A, B, C, D, E, F, G. That was 2,000 years ago when Jesus was talking in Rome. Let's come back with new things. What are you teaching on his behalf to people? People don't need those teachings. They need new teachings. Too bad you invested your life on nothing against zilch. So what do we do? We have not come, unfortunately, yet to the point that we could say that we don't need prophets. We don't need Baha'u'llah. This is another discussion I will have it with you. There's a lot of people, they say that we don't need it. I like to believe you. I wish I could believe you. Believe me, if you could produce it, Baha'u'llah would kneel down in front of you and kiss your ass for doing so. But you guys are all word and talk. You haven't been able to do nothing. Look, all your knowledge and science and everything else is crumbling over your head. You're a depressed society. We're all mentally sick. So that's another discussion. So what do we do? See, in the Baha'i faith, since God knows what's happening when we die and on the other side, now we're going to discuss why he does that too. What is his notion? What's his take off that this? What's his beef in that? It's simply because he's lonely. So, so we go back there. He has made some highways for us. That in the path of going to this spirituality, we don't die. We don't starve. It's called Baha'i faith. You can do all the good things in the world, but there are things as a Baha'i you can do that the non-Baha'i does not know what those things are. You know one of them, what is one of those actions? Baha'u'llah's invented a new act that brings you a lot of attributes. It's teaching Baha'i faith. When you teach it, then you're brave. When you teach it, then you're generous. When you teach it, then you're faithful. When you teach it, then you're in love. You collect a lot of attributes when you're teaching it. It's like a turbocharge. The other one is pioneering. As a Baha'i, you're in America. Agnes Alexander, who was an American, and she was told by Shoei Effendi, and I mean, not order, but it was the job that goes to Japan. She went all the way to Japan. Lady, American, doesn't speak Japanese, but went all there. Oh man, she did a lot, tons of work. She's a billionaire on the other side. And it makes sense, I'll tell you why. Because when people become Baha'i, now this is in their faith, this is in their family, then their children are there. Tons of stuff that could have gone wrong, they're not going to go wrong, they're going to go right, and they're just simply going to go in the generation righter and righter and better and better and better. The one man you thought right now is thousands. Thousands bad things is not happening anymore. Instead, good things is happening. Who's getting the commission? You, sir. So, teaching Baha'i faith and pioneering from a place to another place to act, spiritual act that Baha'u'llah has brought, it's a gift for us to feel good. And people say, we don't know. This Ali boy in Toronto, he says that I want to feel spiritual. I told him, go to teach. I can't stop the boy. I'm afraid he is going to lose his university courses and everything because he is like going for it. Anybody, anywhere. He gets them, he gives them book and he talk to them. because he's enjoying it, you know. He has strange dreams, flying and all that kind of thing. He found, oh my God, I told him, see this? This is it. This is a gift of Baha'u'llah to you. That's why he's come here to suffer, you know, to give you that. Is there anything else to add to this that I've written? No, that's it. We're done. Summary. Designs and designers are two different things. Designs can be captured by the matter or by reading the inventor's design through the book. Mankind's soul is not a design, it's a designer design. Since he's a designer, he's not here. He's on the other side. You can't be in the material world and also be a designer. Matter cannot be designer. It has to be beyond matter. Just as we are on the other side, clearly all these trees and everything that's made is a design by the designer who's on the other side as well. Can we make a human's body to capture his soul through the body? It's not possible. Because in the behavior of a man, when comparing to twins, we see the two are so different that makes us to think then maybe there are some other factors in causing this difference in the behavior. Since materials are the same, the bodies are the same, we have to conjecture into something else beyond this, which is the soul. And this life being material yet is necessary because we need the material initially, just like we need the womb of the mother, the substance turn into life. We need this life to turn into a spiritual power that we can go on the other side and exist. Because it is tough, very difficult, this is why the big designer, the designer of the human being design, he comes down here and uses one of the bodies and emanate himself into it, just like a computer talks to us, bring a new software and says, boys, install it on yourself, learn it, and through this you can go on a turbocharge in a beautiful highway, go fast towards gaining towards a spiritual power, which is called Baha'i faith. And those two acts that no Baha'i, non-Baha'is unfortunately cannot do it, it's called teaching the Baha'i faith and going pioneering in the name of Baha'u'llah. Allahu Akbar. See you next time.